Okay, boys and girls, here we go. We're going to start Mxl problem solving 4-4. Here's the first problem. It says to expand this expression 3 times the quantity, that's what the parentheses mean, n plus 3. So what that means is we have to use the distributive property. Do you remember that? Distributive property says that whatever is on the outside of the parentheses, in this case, hang on, let me change my pen color here. There we go. So in this case, the 3 has to be multiplied by the n and by the 3. So we have to multiply all of that together. So here we go. It's going to be 3 times n, and then see the plus sign right there? Plus 3 times 3. So basically, we took everything inside the parentheses, the n and the 3, and we're multiplying it by the 3 that's on the outside. So this becomes 3n plus 9. And this answer goes right there. So we are expanding the expression 6 times the quantity x minus 7. So that means we have to, if we were going to write it out, we would take the 6 and we would multiply by the x, and then we would subtract, and then we would take the 6 and multiply it by the 7. So you can see they set us up over here with some blanks, so let's just fill in what we know. We're going to put the 6 there, and we're going to put the 6 there, right? Because we're multiplying it by the x and the 7. And that equals 6x minus 6 times 7 is 42. So this answer goes right there. Moving right along, we are going to write the expanded form of the expression, which means the same thing as the last two problems. We're going to expand. So that means that we have to multiply y times 0.25 and times 8. Okay, both. So y times 0.25 and then we're going to add, guess what? Y times what? Now think about this, what goes inside the parentheses? You got it, 8. So that means when we multiply it, we're going to put the number in front of the variable. So it's going to be 0.25, hang on, y plus 8y. Now look, we're not going to stop there because do you notice something? This term and this term are like terms. They both have the same variable. So if we add them together, that's going to be 8.25y. And that answer goes right, guess where? Right there. Next question, we're going to take 2 times quantity y plus x. So that means 2 times the first term plus, see where I got the plus from? Right there. 2 times the second term, which is x. Now what goes inside those first parentheses? You got it, y. So that's 2 times y plus 2 times x. Now think to yourself for a moment, are these like terms? Do they have the same variable, 2y and 2x? No, they don't. So this answer goes right there. Moving right ahead. You guys are getting the hang of this now. We're going to take -1/8, that's the multiplier outside of the parentheses. And we are going to write the expanded form of the expression. So that's -1/8 times the first term, which is y, minus -1/8. Notice that. The minus sign comes from there. The negative sign comes from there. -1/8 times what goes inside those parentheses. You got it, x. So that is -1/8 y. Now what's a negative times a negative? I'm right here. What's negative times a negative? That's what it means when they're right next to each other. You got it. It's positive. Plus 1/8 x. Now, are those like terms? No, they're not, because they're different variables. So this answer is going to go right there. I know you guys are getting the hang of this now. So we're going to write the expanded form of the expression just like we have been doing, and that means 6 times the first term minus, see where I'm getting that minus sign from right there? 6 times something minus 6 times the second term. Now what goes inside these parentheses? Pause the video and think to yourself for a moment. You got it. It is 5x here and 4 there. So 6 times 5x is 30x, and 6 times 4 is 24. Now, are those like terms? Think for a moment to yourself. No, they're not, because this term has an x in it, and this term has no variable, so they can't be like terms. So this is the final answer. Oops. 30x minus 24, and that answer goes right there. We have another challenge problem here, boys and girls. An error analysis problem right here. It says a gardener plans to extend the length of a rectangular garden by 7 feet. Let x represent the garden's original length, so the expression 7 times x plus 7 represents the area of the garden, where 7 is the width in feet and x plus 7 represents the extended length in feet of the garden. When asked for the area of the extended portion, the gardener incorrectly said it was 14 square feet. Expand the expression to find the area of the extension, then describe the error. All right, so basically, we're going to take this term right here, right there, 7 times x plus 7, and expand it. So that means 7 times x plus 7 times 7, just like we've been doing, which is 7x plus 49. So you can see that this is not the answer, this is not the answer. We can either choose B or D, but look at the explanation. 7x plus 49. Does that mean the area of the extension is 49 square feet? Yes, because what you're doing is, remember, you're expanding. Hang on one second. You're expanding the garden by, do you remember this part right here? 7 feet. So when you expand that, 7 times 7, width times height, that's 49. So the answer is, let me make that a little bigger, B. 7x plus 49, the area extension is 49 square feet. Okay, now let's talk about the second part of this problem, which is describing the error the gardener made when he said that the expanded garden would be 14 square feet instead of 49. Well, how do you get 14 instead of 49 when you're using a 7? Okay, let's read and see if we can figure this out. When using the distributive property, the gardener multiplied each term, parentheses, by 7. The gardener should have only multiplied the first term. No, that couldn't be possibly right, because when distribution, we always multiply every term. When using the distributive property to expand, the gardener multiplied each term in the parentheses by 7. The gardener should have added. No, that's not it either. When using the distributive property to expand, the gardener added 7 to each term. The gardener should have multiplied. Yes, that is the one, because that's how you get a 14 instead of a 7, is you add the 7s instead of multiplying them. Okay, boys and girls, these are becoming a little more complicated now, so let's pay close attention to how we do this. Okay, we're going to use the distributive property to expand this expression, which means expand the expression. Distributive property and expansion mean the same thing. So we are going to take 2, let's do it like we just always have been doing it this whole lesson, times 8x minus, see where I'm getting that from right there, okay, 2 times, now take a moment, what goes inside these parentheses? Right, 6y. And then there's just an extra 5 out there. So what's 2 times 8 is 16x minus 2 times 6 is 12y minus 5. So see, it's not that much more complicated. We just had this extra 5 out here, and we just had to write it in our expression. It didn't need to be multiplied by anything. It's just sitting there. Is it a like term with any other term? Does it have a y like the 12, or does it have an x like the 16? No. In fact, none of these terms are like terms because they all have a different variable, right? Here's an x, here's a y, and here's no variable. So this is the final answer. 16x minus 12y minus 5. Okay, this is kind of a long lesson, isn't it? All right, let's read. An architect plans to build an extension to Myling's rectangular deck. Let x represent the increase in meters of her deck's length, so the expression 4 times x plus 6 represents the area of the deck, where 4 is the width in meters and x plus 6 represents the extended length in meters. Use the distributive property to write an expression. Okay, so just everything we've been doing. So first, we're going to expand this right here, 4 times x plus 6. So that means 4 times x plus 4 times 6, which is 4x plus 24. And that answer goes right there. Okay, and here's a picture of the expanded garden. Notice that the original length is 6, but it's expanding by x, and then the other side is 4. Okay, so this is where you get, when you add these together, you get x plus 6, and then you multiply by the 4. Okay? Okay, which expressions are equivalent to negative 1/2 times 4 minus 2 plus 8x? All right, here we go. Let's set it up just like we know how to do it. Negative 1/2 times 4. That's the first part. Minus, see that minus sign right there? Hang on. See that right there? Right there. Minus sign. Let me try and circle it. See that right there? So minus negative 1/2, right? We're always doing the negative 1/2 times 2 plus, see that right there? So it's plus, again, negative 1/2 times 8. Girls? Okay, boys and girls, one last problem. Let's do this very quickly. Oops. Let me shrink my pen size down. We have 1/5 times 15 minus 1/5 times 2y plus 1/5 times 25. So what's 1/5 of 15? How many times does 5 go into 15? That's 3. And then 1/5 times 2y is 2 over 5y. And then 1/5 of 25, 5 goes into 25 5 times. And our like terms are 3 and positive 5, which is how much when you add them? 8 minus 2/5 y. And that is the answer we're looking for, which, as you can see, is right where? Right there. And that's the end of the lesson, boys and girls. Good luck. I'll be here. If you have any questions, let me know.